If you're new to the channel, I'd just like to let you know that every journey has a starting line, but this one didn't start with a grand idea. It started with a burning in my legs. My doctor told me it was vascular. The prescription, simple, but non-negotiable. Walk at least 30 minutes a day, 4 days a week. As I have been walking for my health, I contemplate on the problems that we face in America and what we can do to change our situations in this country. It's clear white people will never change their behavior. They don't want us unless we are working for free. So we have to make a plan, and I have one. It's called the Black Infrastructure Trust. The concept is simple in design and easy and effective in application. The core is this. There are 20 million employed African Americans in this country. If each one contributed just $1 per week, we would have a corporation with annual revenue of $1 billion. We don't have to wait for them to give us reparations. We can create our own reparations, but we have to be united.
We invested 310 years of slave labor, 310 years, every day of which your and my mother and father worked for nothing. Not 8 hours a day. There was no union in that day. They worked from sun up until sundown, from can't see in the morning until can't see at night. They never had a day off. And on Sunday, they were allowed to sit down and sing about when they die, they wouldn't be slaves no more. When they die.
The Voting Rights Act gutted. Redistricting is disenfranchising black voters, and elections are being called off.
What is happening in the state of Tennessee is racist redistricting. It's happening in Alabama, it's happening in Mississippi, it's happening all across our country.
Meanwhile, the people standing up are being criminalized and targeted.
White supremacy isn't something that happened in the past. It is happening right now.
For months, lawmakers
order in effect. It was signed by Lyndon Johnson, 1965. Since 1965, all federal contractors have been banned by executive order from discriminating on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or national origin. Donald Trump rescinded that 1965 rule on his first full day in office. Less than a month later, Trump announced another rule change. They rescinded Clause 52.222-21 of the Federal Acquisition Regulation, which doesn't sound like much, but I'll tell you what the title of that is. It's Prohibition of Segregated Facilities. That's what Trump rescinded less than 1 month into being back in the White House. That section reads, quote, the contractor agrees that it does not and will not maintain or provide for its employees any segregated facilities at any of its establishments, and that it does not and will not permit its employees to perform their services at any location under its control where segregated facilities are maintained. That anti-segregation clause has been in government contracts for decades. Donald Trump overtly reached out to rescind it, which means, bluntly, that the federal government no longer explicitly prohibits contractors from having segregated restaurants, waiting rooms, and drinking fountains. Since 19...
is a white nationalist. White nationalists have seized the federal government. Great replacement theory, right, motivates this immigration policy. It is, in fact, part of the justificatory language of the so-called legal decision or opinion that Justice Alito laid out. We need to call them for what they are. This is a white nationalist agenda, And Stephen Miller and all of these folk are just simply rabid racist, and we need to
wonder why black people willingly went through hell during the civil rights movement. House bombs, beaten in the streets, assassinations. Well, I can promise you it wasn't because we wanted to ride white folks' buses. And it certainly wasn't because we wanted to eat at white folks' restaurants. It was because we wanted them to stop playing games with our vote. And so long as they could treat us like second-class citizens in one place, they could treat us like second-class citizens in any place, including the voting. They created poll taxes and grandfather clauses and literacy tests to stop us from voting. But as times changed, they realized there was a flaw in their system. What happens when educated Negroes can read your literacy tests? What happens when working Negroes can save their money or pool their money to pay your little poll tax? Well, the bigots were only left with two options: violent intimidation, which was becoming less and less socially acceptable, or something more sinister. You let black folks vote, but you dilute their political power. You draw districts in a way that makes it impossible for black folks to choose the leaders they want without ever having to talk about race explicitly. That's what Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act went after, the cowardly, race-neutral way in which white people would keep black folks out of power. And the Supreme Court just took us right back to that time. They just recreated the exact conditions under which our ancestors marched and protested and boycotted and disobeyed and demanded change. The question is not if, but when we will do the same.
The possibilities. What happens when we pool what we already have? Black America already has enough money to build a parallel economy, not imaginary, not aspirational, real. Now, our collective economic power is larger than the GDP of most countries. Every Fortune 500 company, except a handful, the entire tech industry at its beginning. We do not lack the means, we lack the mechanism. The Black Infrastructure Trust is that mechanism. It is the container, the structure, the engine, a system where work is not rented out to the highest bidder. Labor is not exploited for someone else's gain. Ownership is not concentrated at the top. Every member shares in governance and profit. Every product of our collective labor belongs to the collective that created it. This isn't utopia. This is cooperation. This is what capitalists already do, but without the exploitation. Workers become owners. It begins with a moral proposition. So simple it becomes revolutionary. No one should profit from labor they did not perform. If you build it, you own it. If you grow it, you share in it. If you create value, no middleman, landlord, or corporate stakeholder should be entitled to the fruits of your labor. Under BIT, a child care worker owns a share of the child care enterprise. A nurse owns a share of the community clinic. A contractor owns a share of the housing cooperative. A coder owns a share of the digital platform they build. A farmer owns a share of the agricultural system that feeds us. This is not anti-business, it's anti-extraction.